coming at ya. Happy Homebrew Wednesday, everyone. Alright, what are we doing today? I'm in the kitchen. I'm not outside in the garage. We're making some mead, 3 gallons of mead. The mead was so successful, I'm making mead, and I'm gonna make a blueberry mead today. So I'm kind of excited about that. Christian's not feeling well, so he's out of here, and I'll be drinking alone, but that's okay because look what I have in front of me today. Oh, this is the traveling growler. This comes from PFC Brewery, and we'll talk about that later. We'll get into it later. The basic recipe with mead is 3 pounds of honey, and if you use fruit, 3 pounds of fruit per gallon of water. So we're preparing to go ahead and make 3 gallons of mead. You're gonna need a few things to make the mead. Right here I've got 2.5 gallons going to start of water. You want really clean water because mead has a lot of subtle flavors, and so I put mine through a filter. You might go buy some bottled water. I've got another half a gallon sitting on the side that I can add back in. Also, you want to have honey. You can have all kinds of honey out there, folks, that you can choose from. I found some clover honey at Costco at $15 for 5 pounds, a great bargain. So I'll be adding in the whole 5 gallons, 10 gallons. That's pretty close. If you choose to, you can have fruit. I have 3 pounds of blueberries waiting. In fact, I'm going to boost it up a little bit because Larry said he wished he had more blueberry in it. I'm going to be using the Lavlin 71B-1122. This is one that Larimo22 recommends, so I'm going to go with that one today. And then in addition to that, you need some things to help it ferment out properly. So one, you need to use some yeast nutrient. I'm going with yeast nutrient from Yeast. This is actually a wine yeast nutrient. That'll work just fine. In addition, you're going to want to have some yeast energizer. There are alternatives to yeast energizers, which I'll be using today, but generally speaking, you'd put some yeast energizer in there. Today, I'm going to be using some Go Firm as I rehydrate my yeast. I've got a container with right now some sanitizer in it and White Labs. I'll be using this to rehydrate my yeast, 2 ounces at about 100 degrees of water, and I'm going to be adding Go Firm into that, and I'll show you that later. And then I'll also be using the K Firm. So those are the 2 things I'm going to use to energize that yeast and get it going. I don't know if any of you have had this problem, but it used to be that my pot, the thermometer, would lean right against the side. It was the design of the unit itself. So to counter that, to balance it out, one, I added a bend right here, further up. And then, in addition to that, I drilled an additional hole. Here is the original hole. I put another hole further up. And now, as you can see, I have plenty of distance away from the pot, so it's not leaning against the edge of the pot. Something you might want to consider doing, but it's sure going to make it a lot easier for me on brew days and mead making days. Meanwhile, I'm heating up my water. When it reaches about 100 degrees, I'm going to dump out the sanitizer, put in 2 ounces of the water in there, add my yeast and my Go Firm. They say a washed pot never boils, so I think it's time for a drink. Ooh, I can see that pressure needs to be let off slowly. Yeah, a little bit, just a little came out the side there, just a tad. He must have filled, that thing is filled to the brim. I don't know if you can see that, but that is filled to the brim. I'm gonna have to take this to the sink. Looky there. All right, we're gonna get this capped in real quick. Probably wipe it down a little bit. Okay, so this is an Oktoberfest. It's a 4.5%, and it was made with homegrown hops. How sweet is that? I think he made this like last September, he said. So cheers, Doug, and Mary. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. I think Doug was concerned because he had made it in September. But you know, if I remember correctly, Oktoberfests are actually meant to be aged about 3 months, something like that, before served. That's a bit all right. All right, let's check the pot. And looky there, perfect. It's right at 100 degrees. All right, a quarter cup equals 2 ounces if you weren't aware. So we're gonna just scoop out a quarter cup. I'm gonna get this poured in here. And you really want it to be in a container. I know a lot of people do this in a cup, but doing it in a container is nice because you can shake it up and then you know that everything in there has become damp, you know, wet pretty thoroughly so that it'll rehydrate properly. Now I'm using some Go Firm, my little secret weapon with Mead. One of the guys at my local brew shop is actually the mead maker for a local meadery. And just in case Doug's watching, yes, you are a master mead maker. He achieved that some years ago. All right, so we've got it all in there. We've got the Go Firm as well as the yeast and the water. We're good to go. We'll just set this aside. Doug also included a few little extras for me, meaning the PFC Brewery Doug. He tossed in 2 bottles of Doug's Brown Ale, which was his entry in the 2013 SJ Pour Challenge. So Chris and I will get to try that together. Then he has another bottle with AW1 on top. It's an apple wine. That should be fun. He took 5 gallons of apple juice, 2 pounds of corn sugar, and fermented it with some champagne yeast. So I'll look forward to trying that. Thanks, Doug. This is drinking great. Time to get busy. Water's at 160 degrees. That's kind of my strike temp. Time to add some honey. I'll definitely be stirring this. I'm treating it kind of like I would treat if I used liquid extract. I don't want the honey to be sitting on the bottom. Okay, here goes bottle number 2. Another 5 pounds of honey. Gonna get all that honey. Now it's time for the fruit. I'm using organic fruit. This was quick freezed right after being picked. Great way to go. Blueberries. A little tip that I got from a wise man, name of SJ Pour. You want to have frozen fruit. There's a benefit. Freezing it breaks down the fruit so that it's able to release all the flavors. Also, if you're going to use fresh fruit, go out and pick it. Like I plan to make a mead later in the summer with some wild blackberries. You want to wash it real good in the sink, freeze it again so it'll break down everything, and then go ahead and make your mead so it'll be able to release all those flavors easily. Cheers. Bag number 3 makes 9 pounds. All right, I brought the mix up to 160 degrees. That varies depending on who you talk to. Larmo22 likes 160, SJ Pour likes 175. It's all good. If it goes over 160 a bit, nothing to worry about. Let's take a look at this. That is just blueberry goodness right there, let me tell you. We need to let it sit here for 20 minutes. All right, 20 minutes of stirring and we're good to go. Some people say you can cut back the amount of honey when doing fruit, so you could go back to, let's say, 2.5 pounds per gallon when doing fruit so that the fruit shines more through. but other people do it at a higher ratio. SJ was talking about doing one at 7 pounds per gallon, making a monstrous mead, and that's kind of how he makes his Viking meads. All right, I just got a message, a couple messages, hi honey, from Larry, Larmo22 and SJ Port. Larry saying, hogwash, don't reduce the amount of honey, keep at least that 3 pounds of honey per gallon. SJ and him are debating. It's pretty funny stuff. So anyway, whatever, we've got our batch going. We've got 10.5 pounds of blueberries and 10 pounds of honey for our 3-gallon batch. This should be awesome. All right, 20 minutes are up. We'll kill the timer. I want to give you a look at what this looks like at this point. Look at that. Look at that color. Is that beautiful? I'm pretty psyched about this mead. I think it's going to be fantastic. So time to chill it down the old-fashioned way in the sink. We'll get it down to about 70 degrees. Then we're going to go ahead and add in our rehydrated yeast. That's well on its way over here. And we'll be adding in some Mead K. I'm going to be adding that in right as it goes into the fermentation bucket along with this. I'll probably mix this in with a little bit of the mead that I'll leave behind and add it. And then we'll be adding some of this later. I like to add this as the main fermentation dies down. And then some people go ahead and add some more again when 1/3 of the sugars are left, after 2/3 of it is completed, to help finish off that fermentation. I may or may not do that. Depends on how it's doing. I'll get some measurements on this and show you that here shortly. Well, I just got the measurement. 1101, so 1,101. Woohoo! This can be some high octane mead. Cheers, guys.